Okay, without further ado, Clarence Shwaluk, you're in from Manitoba, am I right? Well, let's hear what you have to say about trends and opportunities. You're on. Thank you.
Need my clicker. Thanks, Perry. Appreciate the introduction, and thanks to the AHA for the opportunity to speak here with everybody. So my name's Clarence Shwaluk. I'm the Director of Farm Operations for Manitoba Harvest. And what that means is that I work with a really great team that's responsible for what we call seed to shelf. And we work with a couple of independent plant breeders. We manage a portfolio of seed varieties. We contract with farmers, buy their production back, and convert that into food. And along the way, we employ a number of seed cleaning facilities across Western Canada. And once it gets to our facilities in Winnipeg and St. Agathe, then we turn it over to operations, and they make the food brands that you probably see on the shelf. So I've been with the organization for 8 years, been involved with the hemp industry associations on the CHTA side as a director for a couple of years now, and yeah, this is exciting. Haven't been in front of a group like this for a couple of years now, just with the lack of travel. Happy to be anywhere, as a matter of fact. But this is really exciting. I had an opportunity to go to dinner last night with a few big thinkers, and the stories that were shared over the table. And I think that's going to be the real key to networking with a group like this, is to make sure that you have a chance to collaborate and visit with other people and just share in those ideas. And it's pretty exciting once you get a chance to hear what other stories are. So a little bit about the company and where we come from. So this is a photo taken back in 1998, and the three individuals here went on to found Manitoba Harvest, and Mike Fata, the fellow on the right, he ran the organization for about 18 years after that. They're standing in front of their first hemp crop grown in '98. Their journey actually started 3 or 4 years before that. And just as we've got people lobbying and promoting hemp at this point, these individuals did the same, starting in Manitoba with provincial governments, got some good support there, very much like what we're seeing here today in Alberta. And eventually, we're responsible for getting hemp legalized in Canada. So after a 60-year hiatus, hemp was finally back. Now, they went off in a different direction. They were promoting hemp for food. And at the time, elsewhere around the world, hemp was being used for fiber. They knew the multiple uses of the crop, but they wanted to focus on one thing and do it well. And with their efforts, they created a food company, and that's gone to establish Canada as a leader in hemp food production around the world. So, we owe a lot of credit to these folks for starting the industry, and from there, it's a foundation that continues to grow. Now, while they were doing that, there was another individual right around the same time that started a different company called Hemp Oil Canada. Now, Hemp Oil and Manitoba Harvest merged in 2016. We were both bought that same year by a venture cap company. So we were brought together. Hemp Oil focused on bulk food ingredients instead of the branded products that you see on the shelf. The company that bought the two of ours, they said, you guys do the same thing, and there's efficiencies. You can collaborate. So today, and you'll hear the names interchanged, there's Fresh Hemp Foods, which is kind of the legal umbrella company, but we still operate as Manitoba Harvest and Hemp Oil Canada, focusing on consumer-branded products or bulk food ingredients. The facility you see here is in St. Agathe, Manitoba, about 15 minutes south of Winnipeg. The original original Manitoba Harvest facility is still operating in Winnipeg. So here in St. Agathe, we do dehull for most of our organic production. We do all of our crush in this facility. We have a heat treatment or pasteurization process to minimize risk of microbiology. We do toasting, and we're just about to set up and start functioning on making our own granola in-house, whereas previously we were farming that out to another organization. In Winnipeg, we do dehulling, mostly for conventional, but some of our organic overflow. We do our protein refining and packaging, and packaging of all of our branded products as well as private label products for various companies that we work with. So to give you an idea on where we operate, so we are based in Winnipeg, but we operate essentially across Canada. Most of our production does come off the prairies, and you can see every one of those dots is a postal code where we have production, and the bigger the dot, the bigger the production. So you can see we've got a significant investment in Alberta as far as bringing food grains into our facilities. But we focus mainly on the black soil zones. That's where hemp tends to do really well. You see in southern Alberta under irrigation, hemp does incredibly well, and we do have some of our growers from that region that are with us here today. But what you can see from this is that hemp is extremely versatile. It grows well way up in Lacrete and high-level Alberta, under irrigation in southern Alberta, and we go as far east as Quebec to source our product. And with improvements in seed genetics that we're seeing, we can expand this footprint and get to bigger areas as well. So an idea of the product lines that we have, and across the top you see three of, what we'll call them the primary manufactured products. So hemp hearts, or dehulled hemp seed, which is simply taking the shell off the hemp seed. And then there's the protein powders and oils. So when you crush the seed, you get the oil, and the seed cake is then gone on to refine other protein concentrations. So those are the primary processes. But where the real key on growing in the food industry will result is from further processing those primary products. And we got a few of them here up on the screen. So, soft gel caps, your daily omega-3 in a soft gel. You got the granola bars, the non-dairy beverages, the granola that we're eventually bringing in-house. So the key to growing, and whether it's your own branded product or if you're selling a bulk food ingredient to another food processing company, the innovations that we're seeing, and whether it's from refining the oils further, refining the protein to compete with whey and soy proteins, there's a tremendous opportunity to expand what we do. Now, the thing about hemp in the nutrition world, it's a plant-based protein. Lots of talk about that. It's got the high omega oils, healthy for human consumption, and depending on the diet that you follow, whether it's keto or paleo or low carb, hemp has a fit in that. So it's extremely versatile, and with the innovations, we can see all kinds of new applications coming down the line. And then as far as new products coming onto the market this year, we've got a number of blended products, so hemp not being the only ingredient. So whether it's a ground hemp seed that'll compete with ground flax on the consumer shelf, hemp and matcha, which is a smoothie mix that's going to have that additional caffeine kick. And then later on in the year, we've got super seed blends, so with quinoa, chia, and other super grains, and with the super greens, and then the culinary oils. Tremendous opportunity to grow on here. And then again, whether it's a company's own branded lines or if it's a bulk food ingredient sold to other companies, lots of room to grow. Another opportunity that we're looking at, or at least from a farming perspective, this is a huge opportunity. Hemp doesn't have a chart like this where you can follow the daily price trades and things like that. It's too small of a crop to do that. This is canola, cash price over the last 5 years, and I'm sure everybody knows where canola is at right now. We're often compared to canola in the industry and in the crop rotation. It's got a similar place. It's an oil seed, similar input costs, similar fertility profiles, and we need to follow this. So if we're going to attract growers or maintain our growers to keep hemp in the rotations, then we need to compete. Now, with $24, $25 canola, it is getting tough to compete, I'll have to admit that. But if you look at the other aspects of where hemp fits in a farming rotation, it extends the rotation, breaks up disease cycles, clubroot, it's not present in hemp, breaks up insect cycles. So a number of agronomic aspects that you can use to put hemp in your rotation, and there's additional benefits other than the dollar value that you get on a return per acre. And then we're hearing about all this today. Over the last 24 years, we've been breeding varieties that are shorter, easier to harvest, high grain yields. But with the fiber industry coming on, and that I think is going to be a big disruptor on everything hemp related. Are we going to look at taller varieties where you can get dual crop? And there's a number of people in this room that definitely think so. And for us as a food company, partnering with people that are in that fiber business, I think it's a win-win for everybody. So when we're looking at commodity prices and where they're at, and paying a fair price for the grain, as well as getting that additional return from the fiber, that's a win-win for the two buyers, and it's a big win for the growers. So we do see some tremendous opportunity here, and it may change our focus on plant breeding. There'll still be grain-only varieties that we work with, and we've got some pretty unique things coming down the pipeline. But it opens up the possibility for other things happening down the line. So quite excited on seeing this, and I do think it's a disruption on what we're doing. Now, one of the last things I want to share with you is what's happening to our neighbors in the south. And we're keeping track on what's happening with other countries and how that's going to impact us in the food business. So the USDA 21 hemp report was released back in February, and I just got a couple of numbers here that I pulled out. It's a incredibly detailed report if you want to take a look at it. But you see the planted acres. Now, I've only got 2020 and 21 here. Those are down significantly from the prior couple years. Hemp was fully legalized in the U.S. in their 2018 Farm Bill, just the same time that cannabis was legalized here in Canada. The U.S. shot out of the gate looking strictly at the extraction market, and I have to say it was overdone. Not a great seed program to keep the varieties from getting hot, so there was some crop destruction there. Lots of legal hurdles, and we talk about reducing the red tape on getting that product to market. So and that's not unlike what we're seeing here in Canada, but the U.S. has seen it as well. They are changing their focus. So if you can see the pie chart on the bottom half, the floral or the extraction acres, about 40% of the production is still focused on that floral market. It was about 97%. Almost all their acres were focused on extraction. But I think they're starting to realize that the markets can shift and there's much more value that can be extracted from the hemp in other areas. Fiber, about 31% of their acres. And on the grain side, what we do on food, about 20% of the acres, about 8,000 acres. Now, keep in mind, the acres that you see in the pie chart, they add up to more than the 33,000, but that's just an indication of multiple uses, and our American friends are starting to get that. But the 8,000 acres that they have, and I don't have this number on the screen, but that produced somewhere around 4 million pounds of grain. And my best estimate on what our industry does here in Canada, at the rate we're processing today, we would go through that in about 6 weeks. So they're understanding what hemp's about. There are variety programs, and there's a few breeders there that are looking at getting better, stable varieties. They're getting it, and I think they'll get up to speed a whole lot faster than what we did in 24 years as an industry. We are showing them the way, but we're leading the globe as far as hemp for food production, and I think with the power in this room, we get it, and we're starting to see where we can create that additional value from the hemp plant and bring that together and create a great economy right from the farm all the way to the consumer. So with that, I'll conclude, but just wanted to reinforce that we've come a long way. We started with the food business in hemp and focused on something different that the world was using, and we're still, as far as a country, a global leader. There's new trends coming along, and fiber is one of those disruptors that I think is going to be extremely exciting for what we do in the future. But we can't sit on our laurels and rest. We do need to continue to innovate and invest. And from the announcements here today, there's investment going on. It's going to be an exciting place, and I think it's a great time to be in hemp. There's a great future, and we'll look forward to collaborating with the rest of you here sometimes later on in the next couple of days.
Let's see if there are questions at this point.
Sure. Yeah, if we can entertain a question or two.
I've got a question. Oh, go ahead.
Sure.
Jesse.
Yep.
Stand up. Jesse, can you stand up? Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry.
Since you're growing in so many different regions, I imagine there's some heterogeneity or whatever of the different seed and the grain that comes up. Do you homogenize that, or are different products good for different seeds good for different products, or how does that come?
Yeah.
Do you have any issues with Health Canada homogenizing different varieties?
Good question. I'll give you some insight on how we operate. Now, we try to stick with single varieties as much as we can. We have one variety called Finola that we operate with, and that's a grain variety. And we try to maintain some consistency in our production because we are getting to the consumer, and we want one bag to look like the next every time. One of the strong stories that we have when we're selling to a food company or to a retailer is that we can trace every lot number on every bag right back from what's on the bag to our facility and back to the farmer, to the bin that they harvested that product in, and they'd be able to tell us what field it came from, GPS coordinates. I think that's a real powerful story. We don't do a whole lot of blending across lots. We try to maintain consistency of varieties so that we can maintain that end product. But as I mentioned, hemp is an extremely versatile plant, and it'll grow up in Lacrete and down in irrigation country in southern Alberta and everywhere in between. So we can still get consistency on our final products, even though we have such diverse production.
Any other questions? When you showed the slide of your own business,
Yep.
it stopped at the border. Do you ever envision going over the border?
We do sell seed, and if you didn't hear the question, the business looked at it, stopping at the border. We do sell seed into the United States. We have done that for several years. And again, the Americans have been coming to Canada to look for stable varieties that aren't going to go hot. I think we do have a real advantage that way. But we are looking at collaboration with others in the U.S. and I think we can bring that value added here into Canada, even with buying grain stateside. So I don't see that border as an impediment unless you're Health Canada, and of course there's that 49th parallel might as well be a 12-foot wall. We can still get over it, but we do see the States as a good opportunity for business too.
Coming back to Tom's point on the red tape, where do you see the issue of red tape?
And it was addressed earlier. I do think that Health Canada is overstepping, and I see we got Ted Haney in the room here somewhere, and he'll probably talk about some of those things from the CHTA perspective. But Health Canada is creating some impediments, and being lumped in with cannabis, that's going to put some shackles on what we do. It's not going to allow us to run quite as fast as we want to.
Okay, well, let's give Clarence a hand.
Thank you.